What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Codex Station. It's Thursday night. It's Comic Character of the Week. I'm your host tonight, Sal, the Slab Guy. Joining me right over here is Dan the Kelly Art. And of course, down below, holding the pillars of the station up on his mighty shoulders, the Ric Flair of comics. How you guys doing?
Doing all right for rainy Thursday night in the DMV.
Yep.
We had they had candy bingo at my daughter's school tonight, so I popped out of work a couple minutes early so I could get there in time. And they're just, you like sign in, and then they give you your bingo card and your little, dabber thing, and like, oh, you get to pick a candy. And then when you go in, they have like the big prize baskets you could win. So the first game they had started, so we got in and caught up with it. And the guy sitting directly on my left won that one. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And
Yeah.
we started the second game and we're going. I'm like, oh yeah, like bingo. I won that one. I was like, all right, cool. And then we started the third game, and I got bingo again. So I slid the card to Emily and I said, call out bingo. She went, well, I'm like, say bingo, and she goes bingo. So she goes up and she gets it, and gets to get the prize and come down. So we got like two big baskets of stuff, and I was like, what do you say we just go ahead and leave now and call a night, let everyone else have a chance to win? And she goes, yeah, that's a good idea. So I was proud of her for not being like, no, I want to stay and play. I was proud of her being like, no, we won twice. Let's let everyone else.
Cool.
But yeah, the first three games all at our table. All the winners were there. So
Nice.
That's where everybody else should have sat, I guess.
That's pretty awesome. My daughter got promoted to her red belt now for karate. So she's now in the advanced level class. So that's pretty cool.
What's after red?
After red is, I want to say brown.
What style?
It's Budo Taijutsu.
Okay. Yeah, because when I took it, I took Kempo karate, but we didn't have a red belt. It was white, yellow, orange, green, and then if you were like a kid, I think it was like under 10 or 12 or something, it was blue. Otherwise, it went from green to third degree brown, then second degree brown, then first degree brown, and then you would go to black, second degree black, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So you could test every 4 months, and then when you went from green to third degree brown, you had to wait 8 months. And then you had to wait 8 months between every degree of brown. And then when you got to brown and we're going to black, you had to wait a year. And then when you went from first degree to second degree black, you had to wait 2 years. And then to go to third degree black, you had to wait 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Like, so when you went to our, because I've seen some, saw other places where they're like, oh yeah, we test like every month or every 2 months. I'm like, no, man, like if you had a black belt in our school, like you'd been
working it.
You'd put in the time commitment.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you guys want to get some business out of the way then?
Yeah.
Business out of the way. Why don't we get some business out of the way?
Business.
All right. So, once again, I'm your host, Sal the Slab Guy, but I'm not here on the Codex Station. Check me out on YouTube. I'm over there as Sal's Comic Corner, and also on Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. And then this guy over here, he's got some Instagram action going on right there. Tell them more about you. What you got going on?
Yeah. Check me out on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. Just posted the inks to the Human Torch Fantastic Four cover today.
Nice stuff. I saw that. Pretty good. That was really good stuff.
Thank you. So I'm posting all these sketch covers that I've had done for a while because I'm concentrating on inking the comic, my mini comic, which I just started inking the final page of it today.
Ooh, nice.
So
when do you think you'll have that done?
The inks on it should be, in the next couple days. I just have to ink. I mean, I might, depending on how busy I am tomorrow, I might finish it tomorrow. I have to ink the final page. I have to redraw one panel on, it's 8 pages. I have to redraw one panel on the 7th page and ink that because the way it's drawn, there's not enough space for the word balloon without it like cutting into the character's head. So I just got to redraw it so that the character's head in is a little bit smaller, so I can fit the word balloon with the dialogue in, and then I'll be able to ink that. And then other than that, I haven't erased any of the pencils yet. So other than that, then I'll just go through and erase all the pencils, and then go back and do all the little corrections. Like it's the special like whiteout stuff. If you ever see original, I'm sure Gary's seen it. It shows when you see the original art pages, and there's like all the bits of whiteout that's on there, the correction stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just like regular whiteout. It's the special art kind that's used that won't get picked up by a scanner or a printer. So after I finish the inks, I'll erase all the pencils. I'll go through and do all the little corrections there, which is mostly just from Mr. Keith, mostly just from drawing the from using the triangle to like do the lines around the boxes, and mostly it's just from having like the lines come up a little too much out of the corners. And then so by next week then all I'll have to do is figure out how to letter it, or find someone else to, and draw a cover, do the layout, and
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, because I think I'm gonna leave it black and white. I'll just do color on the cover.
Sounds
good.
I
kind of got an idea. I got a couple ideas of what I want to do for the cover, and then it'll be ready to send off to the printer.
Nice.
I'm gonna do a Kickstarter for that.
That's cool.
To raise the money so that I don't have to pay out of pocket to get it printed.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, I do a lot of talking with Sonny about it last night on the podcast. Like I back a lot of Kickstarters, but I see a lot of stuff that's interesting. There's even one up now that's interesting looking, but I'm like, the prices are so high for what they put at this stuff. I'm like, am I going to pay $10, $12, $15 for like one single issue of a book? It's, and I get it, since it's not a massive company like Marvel or DC or Image or something. They got to make enough money to like pay all the creators and the costs and stuff. But
right,
man, that's what my goal is. Like, well, I've done everything myself, so I'll be able to keep the price of it, hopefully, knock on wood, low, to just cover like the cost to produce it, to print it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, why don't you introduce that guy below us there, since you're so good at it.
All right. Well, he's got the how many comics is it? What's the count out now?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I haven't been asked that in a while. Let's see. 60. Did we get to? Yeah. Did we get to 62 yet? I guess we have. We must have.
62,000 strong. Mm-hmm. Baltimore's coming up. Comic-Con's coming up in 3 weeks, I think.
I might have bought 1,000 at the shop yesterday. It freaking killed me. I got at least 20 alternate covers.
Hey, stop trying to copy me.
Damn Alex Ross.
Yeah.
5. We had one last week, and this week he's got to have 5.
Yeah.
So he's killing me. He's killing me, Smalls. But that's how you get 60,000 books. So
62,000, and after Comic-Con, probably 63,000.
All right, well, here we go. Let's see what CLZ is saying.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last night when we talked about blind bags on the podcast. Like, if they did a Venom blind bag, like, Sal would be like, all Lord of the Rings, like, hoarding, like, precious.
I probably would.
62,466, not counting what I got yesterday. So we're over. We should be over 6,500 or 62.5. Yeah, so there we go.
Oh, so you'll easily crack 63 by the end of the year.
God, I don't know. No, I hope not. That's too much. Because there's only a few months left.
Baltimore's coming up, man. Baltimore's coming up.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. I'm not usually going for volume at Baltimore. I'm going for quality over quantity. I'm going
to go to Time Warp Comics. And I'm going to buy 400. I'm gonna find one book that's only $1 book, and I'm gonna scour the internet and shops and conventions everywhere. I'm gonna buy like 400 copies of the same book and just drop it off at your place. Be like, here, you're over 63 now.
There we go. Well, what you're going to do with that book is you're going to inflate the value of it. That book has become expensive because now there's a market for that book.
I'm going to buy you 400 copies of the first appearance of Heavy Flow.
Oh God!
You know what? If there's 400 out there, good luck. I hope not. No Heavy Flow. Well, if you're in Loudoun County, Virginia, and you want to buy other books that I don't have, come to Comic Logic. We're Loudoun County, Virginia's premier comic book store. Come and see us. We are in Northern Virginia area. If you're out this way, come see us. If you're there on a Wednesday, you get a special treat. You get to see me, Mighty Mike Harbor, Rob Kalin slinging the books. Me and Mike, we're getting that 4-color ink put right into the bloodstream, baby. Right in there. Pump some veins up. Get you massive.
New homeowner, Rob Kalin.
New homeowner.
Congratulations to
definitely.
That's right.
Congratulations.
He no longer gets to have the joy of a renter where you can just be mad at your landlord and say, you know what, today I'm just pouring bacon grease down the sink.
I told him, I sent him and Lindsay a message. Welcome to the mortgage club.
Yeah.
So there you go. So yeah, new homeowner Rob Kalin. So you come in and get those comics. You come in, you may just want a single book. You maybe walk out with, like I did, with a giant stack. You know, I mean, it's so big I might need to put them in a short box. Then maybe a long box. And you lift them and you stack them and you pack them and you put them up here and you put them there and you put them up. Next thing you know, baby, you're jacked and you're packed because comic books make you strong. So do some push-ups, Stu. That helps. That's what we need. Comic books make us strong. Also, we want to give a shout out to the Comic Character of the Day site run by Dan Kelly, founded by Archduke Kevy. Dan's giving you a great character of the day. He's giving you a random panel of the day. He is giving you a great question of the day. Talking Geek will throw in a cover of the day, and you are completely surrounded by comic goodness when you go to that site. So
giving it to you good, baby.
Giving it to you good every day. He's giving you a 3-way. There you go. So that's what you want. That's what you want.
So lucky.
And then, you know, and our fellow right there in the Slabatorium, you know, he doesn't, you know, I'm surprised he doesn't have a park on because he keeps it in that cool corpse level temperature range.
39 degrees, baby.
39 degrees.
I'm used to it now. Come on.
Well, you know, you're ready for the Mr. Freeze auditions when they bring him into the new DCU by Mr. Gunn. So
Hey, Chris.
What's up?
There we go. I forgot I needed to text him, but look, he found it on his own. Chris, you're a big boy tonight. I appreciate that. You did good, Chris. You did a good doobie. So,
yes.
Yep. Slabatorium, that guy, Sal, runs it, owns it, refrigerates it. He is the man. He is nominated for Host of the Year. Host with the most.
Host with the most.
Do not ghost. Sign that, check that box and vote for him so we can say that we have the most engaging host of the year. The hostess with the mostess.
We'll just stick with host. But thank you. Yeah, I'll talk about those in a second, but before we do,
he's awake.
Yeah. Sorry, did I just put over Chris's comment? You can
I just said he was awake.
He was awake? All right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, head over to thecodexstation.com. Check us out there. You can meet the team, see all the stuff that we like, see all the shows that we're on, see what we don't like, buy some merch, and also you can find all this on the
on the socials. Look at us.
It's on the website too.
You know what? We have it on the website. We have it on our eyesight. We have it everywhere. We are dripping. Hindsight. If we had more hindsight, maybe we wouldn't be so infected with all the stuff. But we digress, and we are. So if you would like to have the opportunity to get what we got, let's give it to you. Hit that button, baby.
That's right. Okay, so that's most of the business is taken care of. But first, we want to give some love out to Brandon Comics. This is a guy who's a Mon Comics. Brandon at Mon Comics. Thank you. He is a hell of a guy. He's a real good friend to the community. Thank you, Chris, for that. I don't know what he was trying to say there, but thank you anyhow. He had a very terrible tragedy where his house burned down. Luckily, his family and him are okay, but he has lost nearly everything. So right over here, you can see the top corner is a QR code. Hit that QR code, donate some money to his GoFundMe account. Any amount is good that you could do. And if you can't donate right now, try sharing that link out on some other social medias and see if we can get him some money to get him back on his feet quicker, sooner the better. So, yep. And he has had a birthday recently. So happy birthday to you, Brandon. Good guy all around. Hope to have you back on our show sometime soon as well. All right. So the next thing, Uncle Gary mentioned it. It's the Comic Book Awards. Head on over to the cbcawards.org and you can vote for us for 5 different categories. First one is the best live stream. As you can see, we're there for Comics Unleashed, which is our Saturday night show. The next one is our best informative content. This is for like guides, deep dives, history, analysis. And this is, of course, for major channels with 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers. The next category is best live stream. And we are there for Comics Unleashed, which is also our Saturday night show. Let me get that other comment there out the way so that you can see all the other great YouTubers that are there. But yep, that's also another major channel, major category for 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers. And the second to last is best entertaining content, hauls, unboxing reviews, reaction videos, stuff like that. We're also on there for, just all around for our station. And then, of course, Uncle Gary mentioned this earlier, most engaging hosts, excels at interviews, hosting, auctions, and guest engagement. Also, again, for major channels, 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers. And there I am, Sal the Slab Guy, Codex Station. But look at that. There's some other great YouTubers on there. Ladies and gentlemen, go check them out. Give them a like and a follow because they all deserve it. But vote for us. Vote for us because we're awesome. Yep, thank you. Handsomest code. Handsomest.
Just for you, sweetheart. Just for you, Chris. Just for you.
Man, do you two need to get a room or something? Dang, gone.
Chris needs to get a womb, is what he needs.
Yeah. Oh, what?
When Gary and Mike will split a hotel room at Baltimore every year with separate beds, I assume.
Obviously.
And Chris this year, I think is going to be splitting the room with them too, but he'll just be sleeping at the end of the bed. He'll just be sleeping. They'll set up a little cot for him at the end of the bed, like how your dog will sleep at the end of the bed for you.
No, that's not how Chris rolls. Chris will be on guard duty.
I was going to say, then the dog always then tends to climb into bed too. So one of you guys will have a fun surprise in the morning.
A snuggle buddy.
You know what? There's nothing fun about that surprise.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen.
It would be fun for you.
No, well, listen. At least I can say this. Chris does not have fleas. Because no flea will have them.
Yeah.
No flea will. It's not worth it.
Flea says, I'm not biting that.
No, it's not worth it.
I'm not biting that.
All right, guys. Are you ready to kick off the show for real?
For reals?
Yeah. For reals? For
Did
reals.
you create a reels for this?
I did, and I got a surprise for you guys. Let's see if you can see the surprise when I'm running the credits here, where I run the intro. All right? Stick around, ladies and gentlemen. 1 minute. Check it out.
Spotlight's on. It's time to speak. Comic character of the week. Heroes, villains, tales so bold. From the pages, legends told. Codex Station, we dive deep into secrets comics keep. From panels, worlds, and powers peak. Comic character of the week.
Holy shit, what the hell? What the hell, dude? The whole damn wow. What a creative thing that was.
YouTube's got nothing on us tonight because I created that shit myself. Okay.
Wow.
What did you use to create it?
This thing called Lyrics to Music site that I
And who
joined.
sang it?
It created it.
AI.
AI
Yeah.
singing it?
Yeah, I can't sing, but I filled out the lyrics myself.
No.
So
Wow.
Sorry. No. AI. Sorry. Good effort, but
Wait. No, you're assuming it's artificial intelligence. It was Antonio Ingrassia that
yes,
did it.
maybe it was Antonio. My
Yeah, it was
cousin
an
Antonio.
Italian. It was
Yeah.
an Italian paisan of Sal, Antonio Ingrassia.
Yeah, there you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are covering John Stewart tonight. And Dan, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and give us the origin?
oh, he first appeared in Green Lantern 87 in
Val has it.
yeah,
Right there.
in December 1971, created by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the first time in a while. It's a pretty straightforward origin. He was an architect, and a later retconned to be a former Marine, and he was chosen to be Earth's reserve Green Lantern after Hal Jordan's main reserve, Guy Gardner, got injured, and he eventually stepped into and became a full member of the Corps when Hal stepped away, and the rest was history. Power-wise, it's the same as all the Green Lanterns. He's got the ring, there's the translation, the energy, the shield, the flying, the constructs, all that. Plus, he's a skilled fighter from his time in the military, and again, a skilled architect, and kind of engineer too.
Yep, very cool. Uncle Gary, don't you have a nice tidbit back about his name?
Do we want to talk about a tidbit about John Stewart? Why his name is John Stewart?
Yeah,
So
you had this story. You got this
story that I was told about how he got his name, and the source that gave me this story was some fella that has a little bit of a connection with him. Oh, I don't know, Neil Adams. Neil Adams, who is he was the catalyst behind creating John Stewart. I mean, he and Denny O'Neil did together, but Adams went to management and said, "Hey, we are way overdue. We need an African American superhero."
He is one of the earliest.
Yeah,
one of the earliest. Now, he was definitely after the Falcon, of course, definitely after the Black Panther. But if we're going to talk Black historical characters that were running, we had Robbie Robertson with the Daily Bugle, but the ones that preceded both of these were in war comics.
Yeah,
Gabriel Jones for Sergeant Fury and Italian Commandos, and before that even was Jackie Johnson in Sergeant Rock in the yeah, that's exactly right, Chris. Sergeant Rock in Army at War. So, and it's interesting, those two titles introduced Black characters for a time when there was no segregation in the armed forces during World War II. Those stories were depicted during. So it's kind of interesting that those where you got recurring Black characters that weren't, total stereotypes or played for laughs or jokes or proportions out of whack, with like the terrible caricatures they did with like Shazam's sidekick Steamboat or the Spirit sidekick. So, kudos to those creators, Stan Lee and Robert Kanigher, for creating those great Black characters in the early 60s, very early 60s. But here we go. We digress. So Neil Adams goes to DC in 1971 and says, "We need a Black superhero. This is, and he says, this isn't even about being liberal. This is about look at the population.
Yeah.
It's logical. It's not being liberal. It's being logical."
right.
And so they create, and DC management was like, "Neil, that's a great idea. We're going to go along with that. I know, we got a great name. We'll call him Lincoln Washington." Neil Adams said, "Oh, hell no. You are not giving him a damn slave name. His name is going to be John Stewart, and he's going to be a professional." And that's where the architect came in. He wanted to be a professional, educated man, and he wasn't going to give him a stereotypical slave name. Like, I mean, not just one president, two, Lincoln Washington.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. I mean, that's doubling down on it, right? So thank goodness tonight we're talking about John Stewart and not Lincoln Washington. right? So,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah.
And
So
do you know who his appearance was based on when they initially created him?
To Sir with Love.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, To Sir with Love was his.
Oh yeah.
That's what that was. That was a movie title.
Right. Now I got the connection. I remember it.
Yeah, so it was Sidney, because that's where he was a teacher in a British boarding school. That was a fantastic movie. But yes, it was based on Sidney Poitier. So very, this
Very
is this is more Poitier-esque.
Yeah.
And
they retconned him being a Marine. I think that came about after the Justice League cartoon, right? That's when they did
Yeah,
that.
I believe so. Yes.
But I don't think they got rid of the whole architect thing because it's
No,
he was still an architect, but they retconned.
they modified it.
They said that he was a Marine and then retired and became an architect, but I think that came from the they did that in the Justice League cartoon first, right? And then they decided to do it in the comics.
Yeah, I believe that's how it went. But you can be both. And you know what? They still use the architect because a lot of his constructs are very rivets
detailed.
and everything else, highly detailed on that, which I thought it was great when Jeff Johns was doing the Green Lantern run. He would have Hal was kind of forced Mercury. That's terrible.
That was from the Postman.
I like him being a Marine too.
Yep.
And that's coming from an Army.
Welcome.
Hey,
Army.
Mobius.
So no apologies necessary. But anyway, but that's a great story relayed to me by the great Neil Adams. That's how he came up with John Stewart and not going with the company line of Lincoln, Washington.
Love it.
But good for Neil. Neil was a stand-up guy and had his thing, and he was he was very influential. He's the kind of employee that the bosses to be hate that guy. He is always pushing the boundary. He's the one that wanted artists to get paid. He's the one at the height of his power in '76, where he was the unparalleled artist supreme, where he shamed DC into giving Simon and Schuster their
credit.
Their credit on Superman, and a $1,000 stipend. I mean, a $1,000 bonus, and then a stipend that they would get every month, because these guys were barely pulling it together on Social Security. And he got to sit with those two fellas in the theater when Superman with Chris Reeve debuted, and to see the looks on their faces when they saw on the screen their byline created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
That must have been amazing for them.
That's pretty freaking awesome. So Neil Adams, not only a stellar talent, but somebody that looked after his, the people that came before him. So, rest in peace, Neil Adams, one of the best.
All right. Very good. So let's go ahead and jump into what works best. And Gary, since you're already on the roll there, give us what you like best.
What I like best about John Stewart is, like Chris said, man, you throw a rock, you're going to hit a Green Lantern, a Sector 2814.
Yeah.
So, there's so many Earthbound Green Lanterns, but Stewart, yeah, exactly. But he shamed them when that movie was coming out. He put them to shame. He went public with it, and we know what public opinion can do when it gets a big groundswell. But I think what works best for him is I love having him as one of Earth's Green Lanterns, and I like that what we can do is that we don't have to have Hal. We don't have to have just Hal and then John. We can have Hal, John, and Guy, as our three main lanterns. I know we have Jessica, and we have Simon, and we have
Kyle as well.
Kyle, and the young black gal. I'm blanking on her name right now.
Teenage Lantern.
Yeah, but I love we can have a bunch of them. But man, the big, and of course Alan Scott, but of the core, Alan Scott wasn't a member of the core. I love the different, what John brings to it. He brings a leadership to it. He brings that architecture sense of, logic to the constructs he creates. He has an authority about him that he has led the Corps before, and he's a natural leader. And being a military man, he's very proud, and he's got he's got composure up here, and class, and he's got he's very ethical and strong-willed, and I love that in him. Hal's a cowboy, right? Guy's a bit of a hothead and a brawler, but this guy right here, he is all discipline and all business, and I love that. I love that personality of John Stewart. He will not suffer fools lightly either, and he is a fantastic leader, absolutely. So that's what I love, where he is a leader and he is the rock. You know what I mean? He is the rock that you can always depend on in the Green Lantern Corps.
Yep, very, very true, very true. How about you, Dan? What you got about him?
I'll be honest. I'm actually not really a big John Stewart fan. I don't dislike the character, but I don't feel any particular affinity to the character. And I think it's, kind of what Gary said too. There's too many Earth Green Lanterns, so that, there's Hal and Guy and him and Kyle and Jessica and Simon and the stupid little teen lantern. And now it's like John's dead sister that's a construct.
Well, yeah, but he did that to look after his mother. So that's
but still it's
and I like that. I do like that construct. I love that.
It's too many Earth Green Lanterns. But he is a good leader, and I do like that they have allowed his character to grow, like have actual character growth over the years, where his character now is not the character he was when he was introduced. When he was introduced, he was a very angry character. Early on, he was very arrogant, which did not always lead to the best outcomes. And I like that they have allowed his character to grow into becoming a leader and into becoming, like you said, kind of a rock of the Green Lantern Corps, and someone that, that the others, can look to for strength, and did lead it for a while too. So like I said, me saying I'm not a big fan of his isn't it, I'm not trying to disparage the character. It's just like, there's too many Earthbound Green Lanterns, and it just gets, like everything with all the different Bat characters and the Flashes and the Supermans and the Spider-Mans, like it just gets diluted.
And I think your affinity for Guy makes it a little harder to like him too, because
and Guy, honestly, Guy is another character that's not the same now as he was.
No,
that's true.
When he was introduced, and when he was introduced, he was honestly pretty bland, pretty milquetoast character. And then in Justice League and Justice League International, he was a buffoon. I like, my affinity for Guy came when Jeff Johns started writing him, like around Rebirth, and after that, that's the version of Guy that I like. Not so much the early one.
Well, the Baltimore aspect is big.
Well, yeah. I mean, got to appreciate that too.
Absolutely.
I have to agree with you, Morbius. I have to agree with you. All right. So for me, you guys pretty much hit it for me right on the head on that one. I like him being a field tactician, expert tactician, of commander in the field. He's often referred to as a general of the Corps. Where Hal had to lead the Corps for a while. He was definitely the general. So he was definitely, leading the other Lanterns in battle, and you can actually see it.
Hal is Captain Kirk. John is Picard.
Yeah, true. Okay, very true. So
who's Guy then?
What?
Who is Guy? Guy, who would Guy be?
Yes, Han Solo. Yeah, a different star. Not Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah, Guy is Han Solo. Yeah, I go with that.
Okay.
Or maybe Hal is. I don't know. Now we're divergent.
We are. So
I don't know. Picard broke the rules a lot too. People think like, oh, Kirk broke the rules and Picard didn't. Like, nah, Picard broke. He broke the rules a lot.
Well, no, what I meant more was Picard wasn't leading the landing party.
Oh yeah,
crazy. That's what I meant. Picard will be that general, where Kirk is out in front of everything, being a cowboy.
Yeah,
and that's what Hal does.
Yeah, he is more stoic.
All Very true. Very true. All right. So yeah. I kind of forget where my points were going on that, but that's fine. You guys pretty much covered everything I was going to say.
Well, you're saying he was the general. He was a general.
Right. So yeah, I do like how they portray his constructs, because when they were, I think it was Hal talking about all the other lanterns at this point, and he was saying, how Guy is a loose cannon, in a hothead, and with Kyle, his constructs are very artistic. They sweep in and out, they blur in and out of like formations and stuff like that. But he comes to John, and he's like, you could see the actual rivets in every damn construct that he builds, because it is that detailed. And that's what I really like about it, where he shows every single detail in his constructs. And that shows how much willpower he's putting into each of the constructs, to have that detail.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Do you remember during that run of John's when they were talking about the different rings that one of them made a sound? Only one ring makes a sound.
And that was Kilowog.
Yes,
it was Kilowog.
sizzled.
Yeah.
Just the raw. I thought that was just a brilliant little.
That was the issue I was talking about.
Yeah, it just sizzles.
Right. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and let's jump to our next segment, which is our 3 badass moments. Dan, you can kick us off with this one if you like.
All right. The first one I got is from Cosmic Odyssey #2. They are. The story is that the anti-life equation has gotten out, and it's not what Darkseid actually thought it was, and it's going to wipe out the universe. So Darkseid and the New Gods team up, and they get a bunch of heroes from Earth, and team them up with some of the New Gods, different ones, and send them out on all these separate missions. And the mission that John, he's picked to be on there because he's the Green Lantern at the time. The mission he gets on is teamed up with Martian Manhunter, and they're sent to this planet. Excuse me. Xanshi, I think
Xanshi is how they
Xanshi, yeah.
And there's this plague where the anti-life equation is targeting these 4 different sectors, and if it wipes, these 4 different universes, and if it wipes them out, then it wipes out everything. So they're sent to that one to shut down the machine that's going to do all that. And when they get there, they found that there's this plague that's like, starting to wipe out the planet. And they're working on like, well, we've got this antidote we're working on, but we don't have time to do it before, to help everyone. And he uses his ring to create the chemical reaction in all, they have all the chemicals there. He uses his ring to create the chemical reaction to create the antidote to the virus that's killing the planet. And I thought that was really cool. And it's a really unique use of the ring, that it's like, yeah, I could do, it could do more than just shoot lasers and, make, big boxing gloves to punch someone, that it can actually do something like that.
Big boxing gloves are cool though.
Yeah. But it was a really clever, use of the ring. Now
Agreed.
What now what happened later in the series we'll get into later, but that wasn't as great. Green Lantern, his first appearance, Green Lantern 87, he stepped up and saved this. There was it a senator, or was a congressman or a senator? I guess
the senator.
Senator.
Who was going to run for president.
Yeah, who had staged this assassination attempt that was a fake assassination attempt, basically to gain him political points. And Hal was mad because he thought John was ignoring that because the guy was racist. And then at the end, John, was telling him, no, that was all a stunt. That wasn't real. What he was doing was stopping an actual gunman outside from killing a cop. And that's what, where Hal started to realize, all right, this guy is a legit good candidate to be a Green Lantern, because he had his doubts about him before that. He thought he was too angry. And then the other one I have is from Green Lantern Corps #6. This is volume 3, I guess. It's the one from like 2010 2010, 2011, around then. John and a couple other Green Lanterns were captured by these aliens, and they were pretty much wiping out their own home planet to get this energy so they can invade Oa, and they're going to invade Oa, and they're going to like take over the galaxy and destroy the world and destroy everything, and cats and dogs living in harmony, mass hysteria, and they're draining the power from their rings, and they got them wrapped up, trapped, so they can't really do anything, and they're torturing them. And they get to one of the lanterns, who's only been a lantern for like a year, so he's still fairly new, still kind of a rookie. And they're telling John and the other lanterns, look, tell your ring to give us the coordinates and the passcodes so we could beam into Oa and basically launch this sneak attack, and the pain will stop. And the one lantern says, like, to John, and I forget the name of the other lantern he was with, tells him, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not as strong as you guys. And then tells his ring, okay, give them the information, give them this. And John's left with no other choice. He has to break, tells like, I'm sorry I had to do this. And the guy apologizes, like, I'm sorry for, for betraying the Corps, but I'm not as strong as you. And John breaks out of his bindings and just snaps the dude's neck and kills him. And he didn't want to, because he's a fellow member of the Corps, but he also knew that was the only way to basically save the universe, because as soon as he did that, the ring leaves the guy's finger, goes to search for the replacement, and and then doesn't give them any info, and then John and the other lantern are free. But there's not, and even the other lantern that's with him tells him, yeah, you're right about that, Chris. There's too many volumes to keep track of them all. But even the other lantern tells him, like, I don't think I would have had the strength to do what you did. Like, you did what needed to be done. I don't think I would have had the strength to be able to do that.
Right.
So it was a dark moment, but also it shows that he's willing to do what has to be done for the greater good.
Yep.
Absolutely.
True. And you look at all the other, and it's like, how many other not just comic character DC heroes, like how many other lanterns or any of them, any superhero in DC would have made that call to do that, where it's like there's no other choice, that's the only option. Like Hal wouldn't have done it.
Hal would not have done it.
I don't even think Guy would have done it. I can't. There's maybe a handful of other lanterns that might have done it, but there's not many.
Sinestro would have done
Sinestro.
Yeah, Sinestro.
Sinestro would have done it just for funsies. Of course, we know Diana would have done it.
Yeah,
of course.
But there's not that many. Like Chris just said, it's a tough call.
Yeah, I could see the hook-handed Aquaman doing it, but of the more militant of them, when he was written by Peter David, I could see him doing it. But yeah, besides Diana, that's the only sure thing that
maybe Red Hood, he'd do it.
Red Hood would do it. Yeah, absolutely, he would do it. So yeah, what a tough call to make.
Yep. All right, so is that your three?
Yeah, I also had two from a couple issues later, Green Lantern Corps 9, when I'll save that for the recommended reading.
All right, Gary, how about you? What's your badass moments?
Also, even though Dan said I want, when he first is given the ring, he's got an attitude, and we got to keep in mind these were stories of their time, and there was a lot of unrest in this country when this was going on, and he takes the ring, and he, the senator, Hal gives him this task that is pretty tough, and that's to defend this racist piece of crap. And at one point, it is pretty cool where he saves him. There's a tanker truck that had him in danger, and he saves him with an energy construct that pierces the tanker, and it sprays oil on his face and gives this senator blackface. And John did that. John did that on purpose. So I thought that was kind of badass that he did that. And yeah, and there was and John was angry, and he's calling him out. He said that windbag wants to be president. He's a racist, and he figures on climbing to the White House on the backs of my people. So John still did what he was supposed to and defended him, but when he didn't stop what looked like a shooting of the senator, he was saving a cop because he knew that the guy shooting the senators had blanks, and Hal hadn't figured that out. So Hal was giving John the riot act, and
right.
Well, Hal early on was kind of a dweeb. Hal was kind of I don't know, a nice
He
way.
was a company. He was a pertinent company man.
Yeah, he was a company man.
And it wasn't until the Hard Traveling Heroes where he became more self-aware.
Hal kind of took everything at face value.
Yep. Yeah. Right, and absolutely, he believed what he was told,
Right.
by his superiors, and at the end, when John says to him, "Yeah, it's a frame." While Pistol Pete was blasting the senator with blanks, the real killing was supposed to take place in the parking lot. That way, it looks like the blacks are on a rampage, and Clutcher, that's the senator, is everybody's hero. Then Clutcher waltzes into the presidency, and pretty soon this country is ripped apart with civil war.
Yeah.
It's a shame none of these, things are, these divisive politician things are relevant today, right?
Right. Yeah.
No
relevance
today.
None whatsoever.
Which is, again, the brilliance of that series. Hard Traveling Heroes. Read it. Please. That is one of the, that is a easily top 10 most important comic storylines of all time, if not top 5.
Yeah.
So highly recommend reading it. But so that is my one badass. Another badass is kind of just a fun one. Do y'all know his second appearance?
It was in Justice League, like 2 years later, because he appeared in, and I forget the issue number. It was Green Lantern, and then it was like 2 years until he appeared again in Justice League, and then it was still another year or two until he.
Do you remember? Do you remember my first comic was? Do you remember the number?
What is it? 111, 112?
111.
111.
110 was John's first appearance. It was the first 100-pager of Justice League, and they have a Santa Claus that's killed on the cover, and they have all these League members standing around. They have 3 different visions on there. There's a Green Lantern, but it's Hal. In this story, John's second appearance, Hal doesn't appear. Hal slips getting out of the shower, hits his head, and is incapacitated when the emergency signal goes out. The Ring, this is so messed up. The Ring leaves him and checks on him. Oh, he's okay. So thankfully, the Ring didn't leave him in a tub of water where he would drown. But it checks on him, goes to John, and says, "You're needed. Let's go." So John appears with the Justice League, and they're like, "You're not Green Lantern." He goes, "I'm Green Lantern." "You're not Green Lantern." He goes, "Well," and basically says, "Well, I'm the Green Lantern you're getting." so the Ring does speak up at one point and says, what he is. But I just love John's attitude. I may not be the Green Lantern you're expecting, but I'm the Green Lantern you're getting.
Yeah.
and he's saying this to Batman, to Superman, to Wonder Woman. So I thought that's some onions on him to do that, right? I may not be the Lantern you're expecting, but I'm the Lantern you're getting.
But that also shows too at the time, it was groundbreaking for them to create this character and do it. But then they had him in one issue, and then they just let him sit unused for a couple of years, use them again, let him sit unused, for another year or two. And
part of that is, remember what happened. The Green Lantern, Green Arrow was canceled.
Yeah. So,
all right. See you, Chris.
See you, Chris.
See you later.
Good one.
The wife needs him as code. So the that book was canceled. So Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams had no other chance to use him.
Yeah.
And then because Green Lantern, Green Arrow didn't even relaunch until 76, I believe, like 4 years later after it was canceled. So in that meantime, that this lantern and John was created in 87, issue 87. The last new issue of that, 88 was a giant size with reprints. 89 was the last new issue. The book is canceled. It finishes its run as a backup in Flash, where they had the scripts and the art already done. So O'Neill and Adams didn't have any other opportunity to use John. So because of the cancellation there, so Len Wein is the one that brought him in on that Justice League story. And I tell you what, Len Wein was at the height of his writing powers in that era. He was, he was, that was right around the time he was doing Swamp Thing. He had done such a great job on Phantom Stranger. He was churning out these great Justice League tales. So Len Wein was just at the height of it. But to Dan's point, that's why they didn't, they didn't use him. But I just love that. Not the lantern you expected, but I'm the lantern you get. All right. The other thing is the tragedy. What happened with Xanshi, the planet go boom.
Yeah.
John inadvertently was the catalyst for the planet going boom. And all those people lost their lives. One survivor who ends up being Fatality, which is a nemesis of the Green Lantern Corps, hates the Corps, hates John in particular, and is going to make his life as miserable as she can. I can't imagine the guilt. Think of somebody in real life that, has an accident and accidentally kills somebody.
Yeah.
That guilt has got to be overwhelming. But to have a whole planet loss of life.
I don't know how many people they said. Did they ever say how many people?
It was like millions. It was millions or billions. It was a planet. It was, but to have that on your conscience, I don't know how you survived that. And he did. He had some terrible moments. I know at one point he was suicidal with this. To be able to overcome grief and guilt on that level, that is superhuman in itself. And there are people in this world that have to overcome grief and guilt and things like that in real life. But anybody that can do it, that's superhuman there. But as far as our make-believe world here, I don't know that anybody has overcome more than what John Stewart had to overcome after, that happening to him.
Right.
That happening because of him trying to do something good, but it just, it turned up just not, just causing the destruction of Xanshi. And to come to grips with that and make your life still mean something and save people and not go into just a pit of darkness and despair and self-destruction. That is superhuman effort, and that is badass right there. That is that is determination, that is will, and it just makes the character monumental.
That much better. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Those are your three then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys actually covered or took my three. So that's okay. But I want to add to the Cosmic Odyssey one because he owned that guilt. He owned it. He didn't try to brush it off. He owned it. And Martian Manhunter really ripped him a new one for it as well.
Yep.
And just to own that is in itself is an act of willpower of magnitude. It's the highest magnitude. So on another one, I've got.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, very. So during the Blackest Night, where all the dead lanterns were coming to life, the planet and all the people came to life too, and he didn't even shy away from that. He went straight in and started fighting. So.
And his dead wife was part of that too.
And his dead wife was part of that as well. So the willpower in that willpower level on that is just insane. What else? I had some other generic ones that I wrote down just in case mine were taken. During the run, the series called Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, I think it was 2016, I believe. He outsmarts the whole Sinestro Corps by controlling but controlling the battle down to like the last second or last second of every move, the precision of everybody's move tactically, he outsmarts the entire Sinestro Guild with that, and that's what makes him an awesome tactician, and that's a badass moment for me on that one. Yeah, I think my other ones got covered pretty well, so you guys covered that one. Awesome. So, all right, so let's jump to what we don't like about him, and Uncle Gary, you can go ahead and kick us off with that one.
I don't know that there's much I don't like about John. I like him as a stalwart character. I think the only thing I don't like is it's not really about him. It's just, as we've spoken, there's just too many Earth Green Lanterns. You know, there's no reason for Simon Baz to be a Green Lantern. There's no reason for Jessica Cruz to be another Green Lantern. The
Teen Lantern thing, I thought, first appearance, I was like, this is stupid. Teen Lantern.
I know.
It's the most powerful weapon in the universe to a teenager.
Yeah, so I think my only criticism is just we have so many Earth Green Lanterns that it's diluted the specialness of Guy and John and Hal.
Right.
You know, and of course, Alan Scott's different because he's not a member of the Corps. He's not a member of the Corps. But so I just think too many Green Lanterns dilutes these three characters.
I agree.
They should have stopped at Kyle.
Yeah, they should have stopped at Kyle.
Yeah, they should have stopped with Kyle. Even Kyle was too much, really.
Yeah.
But I get what they were doing with him because it was, the Green Lantern Corps is gone. And here's a new. He's the last one, and it's a fresh character, and so I get that. But after that, it's just
there should have been no more. I agree.
What other planet out there has a baker's dozen of Green Lanterns all active at the same time?
Right. So I'll go next. I got to agree. There are probably too many Earthbound Lanterns. They should keep it just probably the 3, possibly 4. Just depending on the stories. You can keep one in space. You can keep one on Earth. You can, have flexibility of moving around when you need them. But as for the character himself, I got nothing. I love everything about this guy. So
I do too.
I've enjoyed the way they've written him. I've enjoyed the way they've drawn him. So, there's really absolutely nothing that I don't like about him. How about you, Dan?
Like I said, I don't really have a big affinity for the character. It's not that I dislike the character. It's that I guess maybe ambivalence to maybe the right word. That still seems a little harsh. I just, I'll read him. I'll enjoy some of the stories he's in, but he's not a character that I'm going to specifically seek out to buy his stuff like I would, some other characters. I enjoy some of the Green Lantern Corps books he's in, and his camaraderie with some of the other characters, especially the Green Lantern Corps book when it was kind of him and Guy as kind of partners for a while, and the interactions he had with Hal. But if they were to just stop using him in books for a while and be like, okay. But again, that also too stems from there's too damn many Green Lanterns from Earth. And it's not just that there's so many Green Lanterns from Earth. It's that they're all these Green Lanterns from Earth, and every one of them has to be like the most special Green Lantern in the whole Corps. Like Hal's got to be, he's got to be the big main guy. Which, all right, I get. He's, that's the character. We get in the comics, and and Guy's like this badass, honor Corps one, and Kyle's the torchbearer, and John was like the leader of the entire Corps for a while, and I think like Jessica's the leader of the Corps now, and like it's just a bit much.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Right. So let's jump on to our next segment then, which is top covers. And since Jamie is not with us tonight because he is working.
Yep. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about that one.
We're going to be talking about that one for sure. Let me see if I can find Jamie's top covers. Here we go. Yep. So he's got the first appearance at 87, number 87. I think that's Justice League. What number is that one?
That's Justice League 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Yep.
It's Justice League 6, volume
Yeah, because you have it as well, don't
Volume 3, cover B, and Jim Lee Scott Williams. The one on the left, of course, is the great Neil Adams.
you? Yep. And of course, he's got Green Lantern War Journal. Looks like number 12.
That's a great cover. That was on my short list too.
Nice. All right, so let me see who we got next for top covers. Dan, I got yours ready. You want to go up?
Yeah. So I also had 87. You know, that's just such a it's such a striking cover with like the all white background, so the main characters really pop. You know, when he's got, you know, holding on to Hal there, it looks like Hal's had the shit kicked out of him. You know, let him try me.
Yeah. What a great first appearance, right? Cover.
Yeah.
What a great cover to herald. This is our new character.
Him and Guy had a really good
Yeah, he did.
first appearance, which is funny because John's, you know, the way he's kind of personified on this cover is very close to his character in the book. The way that Guy was presented on the cover to his first appearance is as far away from his personality in that first appearance as you could get. It's close to his personality now, decades later.
Yeah.
Is the middle one I got is Green Lantern 185. You know, I love that. I always try and pick covers for, you know, these characters where they are the central figure, and, you know, here he's the only one. I like that he's like busting out of the lantern, he's flying towards you. The red in the background I think looks really good with the action lines, you know, the way that they're coming out. I think it's a really dynamic looking cover. And then the one on the end, the Green Lantern Corps 18. You know, you see me pick, you know, kind of covers like this a lot for different characters. I'm a sucker for the covers where it's like multiple iterations of the same character that are on there. And you know, you see him as his current Green Lantern there. You see him when he first became one, you know, his other Green Lantern suit. You see the purple lantern. You see the, you know, the
Black Lantern
one top. Yeah, the Black Lantern. You see the military one. So I just like it's got, you know, one cover's got all the different aspects of them on there.
That was on my short list too. That's a great cover. Yeah.
Yeah, and that one that Jamie had, the Jim Lee one, was on my short list too.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Gary, got yours queued up here.
All right. We're gonna have some repeats. There we go. I love it. I love again, it shows you how great that cover is that so far everybody has picked that. The 87. It's just, again, what a great way to kick off a new character, to announce himself on a cover that dynamic. But where my power is, right. So that is so cool. And also about this cover, well, I guess I'll get to that on must reading, because there's the second story, the Green Arrow story, and that's pretty powerful too. The Justice League 6 Jim Lee Scott Williams cover, that is just so cool. I love the construct he's making there, and I just love the the determination on his face. You know, I love the fade that he's wearing. You know, it's just everything is so good about that. And then the Green Lantern War Journal cover is number 3, cover D, Edwin Galmon, Galmon, and I just love that with the military, gun sights and the tank and everything else he's creating there, and I just love him getting ready to go off on somebody. And the Green Lantern War Journal was such a cool logo where it had a chevron, as part of the logo, denoting his military background. So just little things like that are so cool.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So we can go ahead and show my top covers here. Let me just refine my name, because I think I'm right there.
Sal, right. You broke the string.
I did break the streak, because by the time everybody got their covers to me, I'm like, what's the point of showing the same cover over and over again? I mean, yeah, it's a great cover, but I want to show something different, So
I get it.
Let me take Brandon's QR code off for there really quick. This is Green Lantern Lost Army number 3, and he is the last Lantern standing on this cover, and that's just really really cool, powerful cover for me, because he got everybody, even Kilowog. He's out
Mhm.
cold. He's lying there at his feet, and he's the last guy standing, obviously. And it just the look on his face there, pretty badass. Um, Blackest Night number 49. This is where he was fighting the planet with this Zashi's people that were coming back to life on him, and he's in there and looks like he's struggling, but he's went in there full tilt, to battle all of them. Last one, Green Lantern Mosaic number 1. We're going to be talking about this all night because everybody I think chose this one as well. But I love the concept art of this one. It was who was this by? Brian Stelfreeze. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like because I don't know the way it's portrayed. It's a little bit trippy, but other than that, it just looks pretty awesome to me. The way it's with the colors and the effects, and you can see the ring the ring effect coming off his fist as well. I love this cover. It's awesome.
It is good. Like it.
Yep. So I did just show something new because there's nothing wrong with Green Lantern 87, but since you guys and even Jamie has a cover, don't need a fourth. Don't need.
I'm surprised you didn't, just because it was such a big deal for you to get yours finally.
It was
Yeah.
it was a big deal, but I mean, you guys had covered it, so it's all good.
Very
It's all
good. I get it.
All right, so we could go ahead and jump to our next segment, which is essential readings. And since Jamie is, of course, at work, we're going to show off his recommended readings. Here we go. Let me get rid of that again so you can see that. Blackest Nights, Green Lantern Corps New 52, I guess the whole 0 through 52 run, and Green Lantern War Journal. So good stories there. I love the background on this one too, where he's creating all the army guys with him.
Yeah, War Journal went 12 issues. For those
12 issues. I thought it went a little bit longer. I guess
Yeah,
you're right. It is 12. It is 12.
Yeah, just wrapped up about 6 months ago, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds right. All right, Dan, you ready to talk about yours?
Mm-hmm. So I have Cosmic Odyssey on there. We kind of talked about it a bit before. It's on here not because it's a shining moment for the character, but it is
Defining.
Yes, it is a very and it defined this character.
Mhm.
It defined this character for a long, long time. And like Gary said, at the end of the book, he's contemplating killing himself, and Martian Manhunter walks in and Manhunter looks at him and goes, "We'll do it," and kind of gives him that tough love to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
But, after, because what happens is he's arrogant when they get to this planet and they're going to save him, and he tells John, he basically traps him in a force bubble off to the back and tells him, "You don't have experience with this cosmic stuff like I do. I'm going alone." And he's saying, no, you can't. He's like, and he's got that arrogance, like, there's nothing I can't handle. And then he shows up, and the entire machine it's counting down from like 5 seconds, and he shows up like, "I'm going to destroy this," and the whole thing's painted yellow, and there's just like a guy leaning against it and a yellow paint bucket, and then you just see. The way that Mignola draws it, I'm not a huge fan of his art, but the way he draws it, where you see the ticker, each panel one by one, where it's counting down, and you see this look of realization on John's face, and like, when he's like, "Oh my God," and then it blows, and it's like 8 or 9 pages of the whole planet going, and at the end of it, they're floating in space, and John goes, "Oh my God, oh my God. All those people, I felt them die. I could hear their screams through my ring, feel their agony. I never dreamt." And then John Jones, Martian Manhunter, comes, flying up, and he says, "Thanks to your arrogance and stupidity, I have now seen 2 worlds die. I will never forgive you for this."
Yeah.
Which we know not to be true here in the future. And John's, saying, "But I thought I could handle it. How did it know about the yellow vulnerability?" And Martian Manhunter just looks at him and goes, "John, shut up. Just shut up." And then he flies away. And not every recommended reading for a character is going to be about their best moments. It's just about the moment. For me, it's about the moments that are most important to the character. And like I said, this was a defining moment for him for a long time.
Without a doubt.
Still is.
Yeah. they don't really bring it up much anymore, but yeah. The other one I got, it's Mosaic. That was a 4-part story from Green Lantern issues 14 through 17. And it was where all of these, basically all these towns from all these different planets get stuck together on Oa. And they're basically like all right beside each other. And they're having to learn how to live together. And the Guardians assigned John to be, to watch over this area, and they tell him he has to do it, and this story takes place, I think it's 2 or 3 years our time after Cosmic Odyssey, so he's still kind of recovering from that, what happened on Xanshi, and he has to basically be the sheriff of like this whole area, and all of these different species and races and stuff get along. And it's not easy, and they don't make it easy on him. And then he comes to find out the Guardians told him, like, well, just do this until we get the battery fixed and we get energy to send them back. And then he realizes, you have it fixed. You could send them back. You're keeping them here on purpose. And they go, yeah, you got us. We're doing this as an experiment just to see how it'll go. Just another dick move in a long line of dick moves by the Guardians.
But it ended up being John's redemption, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the important part of that story. It ended up being John's redemption from Xanshi to safeguard and protect all these different races that were in this Mosaic world.
Yeah. So it's the 4-issue series, or the 4-issue storyline, which then did lead into a series that Sal had the cover for, Green Lantern Mosaic, which ran 18 issues.
Yeah.
So that you follow it up, because, and I'm not going to get into it, but because of the guy that wrote this, you're never going to see these issues collected in a trade. It's never going to happen. But you could buy the issues. None of them are expensive. They're all pretty cheap if you want to buy them and read them, or you want to read them online. But but don't go out looking for a trade, because you're not going to find one. And then the last one is Alpha War, which is from Green Lantern Corps 8 through 12, which is the storyline right before that. Issue 6 is where he had to break the neck of the fellow Lantern to basically save the universe. And this is the fallout from it, where the Alpha Lanterns get they get some images from the ring that show what he did, but they don't have the full story. So they arrest him and they try him and they sentence him, and they say he's going to be executed, and it really divides the entire Corps. And in issue 9, you get the which I almost had as a badass moment, you get the entire Corps that stands up to the Alpha Lanterns to because of the respect they have for John. Now when they find out why the Alpha Lanterns are doing it, they kind of get split, but it's it's a really good storyline, and John is very much at the center of it. And it was kind of it's definitely worth the read, because it was a very important storyline for the Green Lantern Corps, for where it was at the time and what happened to it moving forward after that. But it also shows how all the rest of the Corps what they think of John.
Yeah, they rally around him. Yep.
What's up, Adam?
Yeah.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for joining, buddy. All right, Gary, you're next for the stories. So here you go.
All right. So Green Lantern 87, you got to read from whence he came, I think is very important. So we've seen the cover. So you've got to read the Green Lantern 87. It does say Green Lantern, Green Arrow on the cover, but it's really Green Lantern Volume 2, 87. And that's by Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams. Green Lantern Mosaic, it was a continuation of the 4-issue run in the Green Lantern, but this is John's redemption. This is so that's why it's a very important series for this character. Is this is what gets him back on track to being a hero and to being the man he is now, is by having this task that is so damn impossible, to keep all these different communities from each other's throats. And like Dan said, they didn't make it easy for him. And then the Guardians watching on high, as their little experiments going. They didn't make it easy either, but so it's just very important, as a redemptive arc for a character. And then Green Lantern War Journal 1 through 12. This is by personal friend Philip Kennedy Johnson, who Dan and I will interview next week. And I really enjoyed this. They added some more elements to John's story, with his, especially with his mother and with his sister who'd passed away. This is where he makes a Green Lantern construct of his sister to help his mother, who was suffering from dementia, to help her cope with everyday life by giving her this familiar person in her life that's watching out for her when John can't. So I just think it's very touching on a lot of levels. And I really, I thought Philip did a great job on this. So Green Lantern War Journal 1 through 18. Philip Kennedy Johnson, bravo.
Yeah, very cool. All right, let's get to my stories here. All right, so we've touched on Cosmic Odyssey and Mosaic a lot here. I'll just add a couple of points. For Odyssey, I really thought that it's his defining moment. I'm trying to this is the words I had a speech earlier, but I messed it up. This is like the defining moment with his he's racked with guilt, and this really, I think, holds this character throughout the whole the rest of his comic life so far. I really believe that they stem everything from this story, based on his personality and his character.
This is where he started to lose that arrogance.
It's lost. No other. I don't think there's been any other character that's like lost so much and just owned the guilt of it. It's just it's
Jean Grey, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, I agree. Jean Grey.
That's So it's along those lines. It really is.
That's the only other one I could think of. But even with Jean, it's not
even her in control.
It's not so much that she, like you said, had the control, because it was the whole thing with her and the Phoenix, where this was just, it wasn't malevolent. It was just arrogance that, where he thought he could do it all himself. Where if he had John with him, John could have just gone up and punched the thing, and that would have been that.
Right. Exactly. So this story really matters because it's, like we said, it's this defining moment. It's this cornerstone of his story, and it gives him depth beyond the Green Lantern architect type series. He's a flawed hero, He's not like Hal, who's reckless, but redeemed. He's not like Kyle, who's like the everyday man. John's the Lantern that's failed on a cosmic scale, but his redemption arc is all about discipline, humility, and living with the guilt.
What you asked earlier, I was scrolling through the real quick, the Cosmic Odyssey. They don't give a specific number for how many people were on the planet. It just says millions.
Yeah.
But still,
Martian Manhunter, I think he said billions as well. So, because that's I copied Martian Manhunter's quote. He's like, "Billions of souls cry out for vengeance, and it's your fault."
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so it's a lot. It's like it's comparable to the Dark Phoenix, destroying a whole solar system of people. So and I really believe that this story alone influences later ones like Mosaic and the Green Lantern Corps and the Blackest Night. They all reference Xanshi in some manner or form, and it tries to bring this guilt or this failure back to haunt him, and he always stands up to the challenge after that. So all right, so let's go down to Mosaic then. For Mosaic, this is like Dan said, it's like a patchwork world. It was a social experiment, but I really felt like it was almost the Guardian's way of trying to make him a better, make him deal with the guilt, that type of situation. In that retrospect, I kind of see it like that. Also, in this particular series, he doesn't really fight You know, he does stop fights, but he's not in there guns blazing, you know, like a Hal Jordan going all cowboy on him. But he's trying to bring peace. He's trying to bring understanding between all these different patchwork of worlds. You know, so I feel like he wasn't out here to fight everybody into submission, but to make sure that everybody gets along as they should. You know, and then for last one, Green Lantern Corps: The Lost Army. This is this is really centered around him, you know, and he's not defined by tragedy here like in Cosmic Odyssey. He's not defined here at like philosophy like he is in Mosaic, but this is where he has his strength in fighting and tactical leadership, his command ability to lead and be cool under pressure, and he's respected by his peers, and the story kind of goes where the Corps gets teleported to almost like another universe. It takes place right after Convergence, I think, right before Edge of Oblivion, because that's where this kind of leads into. So they're stranded in like an alien universe. They don't know how they're going to get back. So he kind of takes control and uses structured discipline like his military tactics to lead the Corps and keep them all together and on the same page. So it ends with a cliffhanger, but it does lead into the Edge of Oblivion that was by Tom Taylor and Ethan Van Sciver series. So like I said, he wasn't defined by tragedy here. He wasn't defined by philosophy, but he was defined in this arc by his command ability, and that's where I like it. So there we go.
Very good.
All right. So our next segment for the night is going to be Best Writer and Artist. So Dan, who do you have for Best Writer and Artist?
I went with the team that actually worked on the book together on Green Lantern Corps. I went with Peter Tomasi and Fernando Passarin.
Nice.
Who I feel like he's been a real standout artist at DC for a long time now, and I never hear anybody talk about that guy, but like his work on Green Lantern, on Flash, and all these different books is just it's just spectacular stuff. And especially in that Green Lantern Corps, that one storyline where he's drawn these big epic pages that's like the entire Corps on there, and they're all making ring constructs, and the level of detail that he has, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. That is good stuff. All right, Gary, how about you?
Well, I want to give some love to Vendetti, Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Yep.
Some of the great writers that have dealt with him, and artists. I like what Peter Tomasi, of course. I love what Mankey did for a while when he was doing Green Lantern Corps. I really liked how he drew them. On the rare occasions Ed McGuinness draws them, I dig that. I dig McGuinness.
Yeah.
A lot of these characters too. But I'm going to go with a team that only worked with him on one issue. And that's because without these guys, there is no John Stewart. And because of how historically important this character is, that's why I want to give Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams a lot of love on this. Again, there's only one issue, but without them, specifically Neil, there is no John Stewart. So I think because of that, I need to just single them out.
I agree. For me, I went with Neil Adams and Tomasi as well. But I really have to say it was a close call because I like Jeff Johns stuff that he did as well.
He was absolutely great in this too. Yep.
Yep. And Mankey, like you said, was also good, with his stuff as well. So I decided just to take a step back and say, okay, let's just take a step back here. And Neil Adams was it's almost like the George Perez answer. I got to go with Neil Adams, 100%.
Well, especially with Neil as the one that went to management.
Yes.
It said we need this
for that story alone.
Yes.
For that story alone. I mean, that's why I have him on there. And so, but Peter Tomasi, I think, really stands out for me.
Tomasi is brilliant. I can't wait to speak to Tomasi next time I see him and see how happy he is that they're finally collecting that Spectre, because he has been talking about that. He edited that run by Ostrander and Mandrake and has been on DC for years to get it. So he must be through the moon happy.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Great talent, great writer.
Definitely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think this wraps up this week's comic character of the week, John Stewart. Thank you guys for your input, your stories, your covers, your badass moments. Amazing.
Love it.
Love it. Yeah. So next week we are covering, I think, is Dan's pick, and that will be Stargirl.
Courtney Whitmore.
Yep.
Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for that next week. And also, don't forget to join us on Saturday night for Comics Unleashed.
One more addendum about him.
All right, go ahead.
We may not be talking about him as much lately, too, if it hadn't been for them using him in the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, that did. That did bring him more to the forefront.
Sure did.
And like we said, they changed his. They added the military aspect of the character that then made it into the into the comic origin. And I mean, let's be honest, we know why they made the changes to the team in the cartoon from what it was. Right. All right, well, we have a black Green Lantern. Let's add him instead of just having another white guy. Let's drop Aquaman. We'll put Hawkgirl in there. We'll have another woman so the league could be more diversified. Yeah. So, that's the reason, but it definitely did raise his profile a lot. And then now we're getting him in live action soon, too.
Yep, absolutely.
Can't wait for that.
Yep.
I wonder, did that get pushed back again, or is it still on its latest schedule? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
It got pushed back like 3 or 4 times, but I don't think it, recently, I don't think it's gotten that pushback again. So I think we're still on schedule for the latest, whatever the latest one was. So
I know Nathan Fillion's in it as Guy again, and I know that he says that he drops more F-bombs in that than he ever has in any other role that he's done.
Wow.
Nice. God.
Nice.
I definitely can't wait for that then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Sal the Slab Guy. Right next to me is Dan DeKelly R. Of course, down below is the Ric Flair of comics himself.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Comic Character of the Week with the Codex Station. We will see you next week for